Hi everyone. So I'm here today with a Navratri special pick a card reading from my Kali Oracle deck. This is a reading that I promised, not people, but when you're like sort of religious or spiritual, you have your own personal relationship with the deity that you worship or you have devotion towards. And I always said that I would make this, and I don't think I have. So I mean, I got like a new camera thingy today, and I was like, oh, why not? It's going to be a short one. I'm not really pulling tarot. I'm just gonna freestyle off of like the cards that I did pull, and hopefully, it resonates and brings lots of um, intelligent guidance for you at this point in time. Maybe stuff that's hard to hear or like stuff that you've been avoiding, whatever clicks the maximum. And I hope that you're not affected by my ignorance in any way as I attempt to help out. So this is going to be pile one. This is like marginally better, my webcam. This is a Matangi card, guys. So if you and don't like overanalyze it, but if you're drawn to pile one, this is your card. If you're drawn to pile two, this is it. And if you're drawn to pile three, once again, don't overanalyze it. The topper card, sometimes doesn't really tell you what the outcome of the reading might be because the flow takes you somewhere else. Okay, so uh Matangi pile one, um Kalika Tantrika card two, and Blue Tara card number three. So these are your options. I'm gonna give you a while. You can pause here. And then after that, I'm gonna launch into it. All right, so if you picked this one, it's funny, Matangi is usually portrayed with like a musical instrument. In this portrayal, she doesn't have one, but she has her characteristic parrot. And parrots are considered somewhat interesting spiritually because they just repeat, so if they just repeat what it is you're telling them. So if you're saying positive stuff, that's going to come out. And if you've been saying negative stuff in your home space and personal space, that's going to come out. Either way, like you can't really hide. Um, and if you're a spiritual practitioner, if you're doing lots of mantra around it, think about this, a being that latches on to what's being repeated, a mantra or an incantation, as maybe other cultures would say it, right? A being that's just repeating all of that. And not thinking of anything else, even if it's being done mindlessly, there's a vibration that it carries. There's a transformation that takes place as a result. And yeah, like, it's a lot about vibration, about that expression. Maybe your pile. Um, I'm sensing that there's a need for moving past certain modalities of self-expression. Maybe you have to outwardly embody things that you promised yourself that you do. For instance, you've up-leveled your self-love by changing your routines around. You've up-leveled your life by applying for that new job. Maybe you're posting your blogs more often, but the way that you respond to other people, it's still very like reflective of the fact that you don't actually respect yourself. So a person who actually embodies their self-respect, they're not defensive, and they're not offensive either. They navigate smoothly somewhere this terrain of being triggered, and they just assert their right to have you know, a smooth experience in life. They don't necessarily get into that depressed mode of like the child inside you who feels the injustices of the past, because I mean, it's not wrong that you're feeling that. It's just taking you away from the present moment. So the more that you're able to do this in your downtime, the better it becomes for you to participate mindfully in the dance of the present. Be present with other people, be engaged with other people. And it's important that you sit with yourself and decide what it is you want, whether you want like a juicy experience, like sensual or beautiful or indulgent, it doesn't matter what other people have as an opinion about that. Matangi is often also used or involved in rites about like attraction and things like that. But we're not going there. We're not going there. We're just examining her for what she represents and making more of a devotional connect. We're not really pushing for anything else at this point in time, right? Um, so there's an independence that is required to determine what it is you actually want, free of what others expect of you, what others have demanded of you in the past, and what they've come to expect of you now. And, there's a freedom. There's a freedom that will allow you to experience more energy, more luck, more abundance, and less obstacles in your life because inwardly there's something higher that, is starting to surge these like waves of energy towards you because you are finally able to voice what it is you want. Like, you may think it's not a big deal, to spend time at the movies today when you actually just want to sit home and work on your blog or, hang out with you don't you want to stop hanging out with a certain group of people, but you're operating in that lack mindset that, oh, I don't have other people that I know. Where will I go? I might as well see them. And you're actually occupying that part of your life which you could have used to find other people more compatible with you, um, in depleting your energy. So not only do you waste those 2 hours, you also need time to recover afterwards. That's why I'm saying be careful. Oh, and what I'm gonna do is I have this book of poetry that has Kalima on the cover. It's by Tosha Silver. And I'm gonna flip open to a page and I'm gonna do some bibliomancy too. Okay. Okay. Okay, we've gotten a poem that's called Tabula Rasa, which is, I think it means blank slate. Okay, there's also like a Taylor Swift song. Okay, you slipped into my room each night to steal my hopes and dreams and wishes, and now you scribble poems in your fluid hand on the empty white pages of my soul. I'm not complaining. I never know what you'll say next. I think this really talks about that higher energy taking over you, that higher energy that's like, for example, um, let me, like, this is God, this is you, and there's like a higher energy that's like lifting you towards that, because I mean, I mean, maybe some of us could become saints, but maybe what we can actually realistically aim for is that we embody a vibration in life that allows us to um, operate for the higher good of more beings. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna close this pile. I was very short, and thank you for tuning in. I hope you find your way to this channel again. Um, okay, pile two. There is this Galika Tantrika card here. And this compared to the other cards, full disclosure, this one's very like it has this ancient quality to it. There's like an old energy there, Like look at the lines and look at the colors, it's not quite that, but it's almost reminiscent of, when you look at the cave paintings, the like thousands of years ago, the people would have very limited access to like actual art supplies because they weren't invented yet, but they would still use your limited ability to create something, right? They would worship something, they would make something from their heart. And creation, art, creativity is so central to um, our lives, and it involves such a process of churning sometimes in order to bring what we truly have to express to the surface. Sometimes there's a rattling that happens within us, you know. We're like being stretched from end to end, being stretched thin, and we don't feel we have enough tools to actually bring our vision to life, especially those of us that people have talked down to us since the very beginning of our life, and that's the internal dialogue that we now know, right? um what's a really potent way of, I'm really getting with this pile that there's like a couple of messages here. It might be, you know, the scythe, that I'm just drawn to that. Like there's like a few brutal endings here, or that are incoming, but there's also creativity, and there's also I believe there's a poet, you know, Najwa Zabian, and one of her books is called The Nectar of Pain. And I feel like there's pain, but you're also simultaneously kind of navigating the nectar. And you are the nectar. Like, don't forget that. Like, all the most interesting things about life come from within you. You make them special because you focus attention on them and you pour your heart into them, your soul into them, and your soul, regardless of what people make you believe in this day and age, your soul, your creative energy, your um your, again, self-expression, kind of linked to pile one, but in a different way. For you guys, for pile one, it was more about like social, but here it's a more like about creation and action, you know, actually sitting down with yourself and maybe writing the poems that you feel stuck somewhere, but you're not sure how they're gonna come out, you know. So I was reading the description or blurb on the back of this Lana Del Rey poem collection, and she was describing how some poems they just were like an instant download, and others were painstaking, you know. And if you're at the point where you're writing poetry or articles, or like maybe as an artist too, you're sketching details, and each detail feels kind of long drawn, and you feel at every step you feel like question mark, question mark, question mark. I just want to see you, and I want to appreciate your struggle, and I want to say it's real, but I also want to validate you and cheer you on to like keep going, because there's a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. We don't know if it's necessarily monetary, if it's something that you can monetize, or if it's just the ability to tolerate life, you know? There's so many people that walk around like injured children now. They've never matured into adulthood. They've never sat with their pain or with themselves and really examined what's happening and how they're reacting. They're just reactive. So, you have an opportunity here. You have an opportunity to not only cut away at things, but also become like a magician of your life, you know, a better manifester by virtue of dealing first with these like internal things that you have to express. You have to be interested in what's happening in your heart and soul. And I'm feeling just such a sensation in my chest as I'm saying. There's lots of emotions, lots of like difficult emotions. It's okay if the first things that come out when you try to express yourself are just rage scribbles, or like, you know, I've done that at times. You know, I write poetry, but like sometimes written pages that are just like once I even tore a hole in a journal at one point. Okay. But it was worth it. It led me to a place of peace within myself, and like an exuberance that I didn't know that I had. Okay, so I'm gonna get you your little poem. It's this series by Tosha Silver, Make Me Your Own. Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, okay. Wow. This is adieu, like adieu as in goodbye. Okay. Suddenly it is easy to stop banging on doors that are bolted, or hearts that are shut because you remember who you are, and a whole new world beckons, alight with ones to embrace you and laugh. Thank God you have come. Okay, these are like, I'm seeing that you guys are in some kind of waiting phase right now. Like you're in between transitions. I know it can suck, but like, there's like it's like juicy. There's like lots of nectar. There's lots of like good emotion to be extracted here. I promise. What's happening now is just gonna make you wiser, and you're gonna be, if not grateful, you're gonna understand why, right? And there's people waiting on the other side of this, and opportunities waiting on the other side of this, but they need you to sit with yourself first. Okay. Last but not least, pile three with the blue Tara, who is also one of the Mahavidyas. Like they have shown up together, Tara and Matangi. Um, so with this one, I'm really, it's interesting, this portrayal. It's a bit non-traditional because her traditional like iconography, she doesn't look this serene always. She kind of like the description is actually just a bit more fierce. Here she looks very serene with like the bun and everything. And I believe the faces in this have been modeled after Sabyasachi models, you know, because I was noticing and I was like, I noticed these like facial lines. If you know who Sabyasachi is, like he's an Indian designer. It's like this is just tea. I'm just giving you random tea. But yeah, coming back to Blue Tara, she really talks about the wisdom. Actually, uh, her and Matangi, they're both considered aspects of Saraswati. You know, her because she holds the sitar, commonly not pictured here, and Tara because she has that association with wisdom, right? Uh, anyway, let me just tap in a bit deeper. All right, some of you, you know, that have picked this pile, it's very interesting energy for sure, because you might be on the brink of something esoteric, different from people who are like in between transitions. This is just the brink of something esoteric. It's like you're sitting with yourself in your day-to-day life and you're like, I can almost see beyond this veil in front of me, but not quite, you know, and I'm constantly like feeling unsure of myself, unsure of my intuition, and I'm gaslighting myself almost, you know, like do I believe in a higher power? Do I believe in magic, you know, or is it stupid of me to keep believing, you know, because things may not have panned out for you in the past, right? Like you might have had some hopes that were dashed. You might have had people that turned on you that really just they went all out and stabbed you in the back, and that still hurts, and understandably so. I fully validate that. But there's a need to outgrow that because you deserve it, you know? And this isn't even about like how the first pile was more relationship oriented, the second pile was more oriented towards pouring into an artsy endeavor. This is more about like your relationship to creation, your relationship to a spiritual Godhead, a spiritual does you don't need an intermediary, by the way. You don't need people with more quote unquote authority to tell you how to feel. I mean, please don't use this as a reason to go and do things that are like unseemly, like you know, ill-advised things like chanting any random mantras or incantations. That's not what I mean. I mean like connecting from your heart, you know, your heart knows, your heart space knows and recognizes its origin, its originator, its creator. It has multiple ways to, in every day, connect to that source, feel guided by it and protected by it. there's some amount of maybe religious trauma here too. I don't care what background you're from. Um, see, religious trauma doesn't always come from the particular religion being followed or the fault of the founders or anything like that. Sometimes it's just that traditions are passed down in ways that are not explained properly to people, or they always take the social space saving aspects of very deep philosophies and extract them in such a manner that it alienates people. But on the surface they're like, oh, we're on board, we're like so many rounds of like this particular uh help me out here. Like, what's a generic way of saying it? Like, I've read so many pages of like the holy books. I'm on board. I'm this. I'm that. But they won't look at the fundamentals. They won't look at the fundamentals of trust and distrust, and as above, so below. They won't sit with that. They won't see that they're becoming xenophobic. They're not seeing that they're becoming hateful. There's a difference between preservation and being suspicious. There's a fine line there. And I'm only saying this because shadow work is something we're constantly going to want to and have to imbibe in our life to perfect ourselves, not as a complaint about not being good enough, but as an endeavor to move closer and closer to divinity. And so maybe this is something that you need to do, is that relate to whoever it is you believe in. You need to start approaching them from with more closeness, with more trust and more openness and true humility, not fear of punishment, true humility, that doesn't care about punishment or reward. It just cares about holding the beloved in its embrace. So, um, there's really something. This is a very like strange pile. It's very, but because if it's gonna resonate with you, it's really gonna resonate with you, and it's really gonna move some things around for you. But if it's not, you're probably gonna be like, what the hell is she saying? Um, but I really like urge you to examine your belief in the general goodness of the universe and creation myths, creation stories. Maybe even do a little bit soul searching and read up on other philosophies. Not necessarily to change course, but to get some different perspectives. And now I'm gonna do like a little bit of like reading from Tosha Silver's book. Okay. So I'm gonna open up to a poem for you. I don't know. Okay, this is a struggle. It was easier in the other files. Okay, incessant pull. Breathe into the process, however it is, the incessant internal pull, like unavoidable gravity. Let the surrender take you. Give yourself over, let it seduce you into changing with tongues of flame. Let the melting into what is be an offering. Changes are coming, changes are here, yielding into the vast desert of waiting and knowing has already readied you for a blessed birth. Okay, so it's like you're being rebirthed in this moment, and I almost feel like if you have any higher powers that you believe in, could even be guardian angels, they're really just like incubating you at this point in time. So you're very protected. Um, but maybe you'd want to like silence your thoughts a bit so that you can actually feel that protection envelop you instead of your body's like usual chatter and patter. Okay, so with that, I'm ending this reading and hopefully it was able to help you.